I would appreciate it. It is 6:30. We will go ahead and start the meeting. First item on the agenda this evening is review and approval of the minutes from the prior meeting. If anybody has any additions or corrections, if they'd be kind enough to share them. Otherwise, I would look for an approval on the minutes, please.
Make the motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Yep, I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That will take care of our minutes. We've got 3 public hearings this evening, all for projects by Schramm Construction. Ian, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so the subject for tonight's meeting has to do with this large parcel up here on the northwest side of town. This is specifically PID 24.028.1500, which is actually a very, very large parcel, extends between the dump road here on the west side and Highway 57 or Manorville Avenue on the east side. But the particular area that we're talking about this evening is mostly here on the west side. You can see that there's kind of a low spot in between that naturally subdivides the property into 2 halves. So just this west side here tonight. So it's an approximately 29-acre piece that we're talking about. And what the applicant, Schramm Construction, is proposing is a housing subdivision. So it's proposed to include 13 single-family homes and 108 units of townhomes. So it would be a combination of 8-unit and 4-unit townhomes. I'll just show here on the And so for this evening, in order to move forward with this development, there's 3 different requests that have been made. The first of which is a comprehensive plan amendment, which has to do with the overall density of what's being proposed. So according to our comprehensive plan, the future land use designation, this is the map that I'm talking about. And then this point here where my cursor is, that's the piece that we're talking about. So you can see it right now, or at least when this plan was developed in 2018, that it's guided towards low-density residential, which from a planning perspective, what that means is 4 units per acre or less. So if you take the proposed number of housing units here, which is 121 total, if you add up the single-family residential and all of the townhomes, divided by 29.14 acres, you get 4.15 housing units per acre. So that's just 0.15 more housing units per acre than what you could see with a single-family residential housing development. So what does that mean? It means just 5 more units, 5 more housing units more than what you would see in a low-density housing development. And so this dashed line here, at that time, that was the edge of city limits. And since then, of course, more of the property has been annexed into the full city limits. You'll see down here, this was the start of the Stone Ridge development on 12th Street Northwest, and then that would be 7th and then 5th, the cross streets. That was low-density residential. And then you'll see immediately below that, in 2018, that area was guided towards medium-density residential and even high-density residential. So many of you who may live in the Stone Ridge development now live in a single-family home, which of course is not medium or high-density residential. So you can see that changes do happen with our comprehensive plan time to time, and it allows us to move forward as appetites change. But what I see from a planning perspective here is that the northwest part of town is lacking in options for more dense housing, because the areas that were guided towards high and medium density are now low density. And so with this proposal here, by putting more of that medium density, it basically just flops what was planned back in 2018. So it puts it further to the north instead. Let's see. So I think that's what I've got for the comprehensive plan amendment specifically. I could have more for the other two proposals later on, if there's any questions from the board at this time.
I don't have any questions for you, sir. Are there any questions? Okay. Again, this is one of 3 public hearings specific to the comprehensive plan amendment. If anybody has anything they would like to share on this particular agenda item, if they'd be kind enough to come up to the podium, and if you would, start with your name and address, please.
I do have 2 emailed in comments that I could read to get started,
Sure.
if that works. Okay. This is...
Tom, can I just make one request before we get started? I watch these meetings online quite a bit, and a lot of the committee members are not speaking loud enough or not speaking into their mics enough, so you can't hear how it happens online, so...
Sure. Do what I can, sir.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay, this is the first emailed in comment that I received. It says, "To whom it may concern, while we were unable to attend tonight's meeting on this rezoning, my husband and I would like to express a few of our concerns regarding the same. We live at 1105 7th Ave Northwest, and we are currently renters with intentions of purchasing this property next year. I know as renters we are probably not going to be acknowledged, but we have become quite attached to this area since our move from California, and as I stated before, plan on staying here. Some of our concerns are that if this housing development goes through, there is going to be an extreme amount of traffic going in and out of this area, and only 2 in and out locations at 7th and 5th, and with an outlet to a main road, it will drive traffic into our neighborhood along 12th Street between 5th and 7th Avenue as they migrate out to the main roads. The strain this will put on Cassen's public services is abundant. We do not have appropriate services, such as fire, police department, EMT services, to be adding this type of housing development. While we don't have children in the school system, we are very aware of the strain this will create for the schools and child care facilities here in Cassen. We have seen no information about adding any new schools and or child care facilities into the city of Cassen, so what happens there? How can Cassen consider these types of developments before the city is equipped to handle such? Thank you for the opportunity to express some of our concerns. Michael and Lisa Thayer at 1105 7th Ave Northwest." And then this is number 2. It says, "We are not able to attend tonight, but here's a list of concerns if you care to take a look. 1. Has there been an environmental impact study in regards to the proximity to the garbage dump? 2. There would have to be a roundabout or a stoplight for safety because of the high number of gravel and garbage trucks going to and from the quarry and the dump. 3. Water, sewer, winter snow removal, impact on the schools. These would definitely increase our already high taxes. 4. Can each board member give an example of how they believe this could in any way be a benefit to our community and also how it could negatively impact Cassen? 5. If this type of development was stopped in the northeast part of town, what exactly was the deciding factor or factors? This information would be extremely useful. This should be available from past board meetings minutes. Thank you to all of the board members. Your time and efforts put forth keeping the city of Cassen in your best interests is greatly appreciated. Beth Fanton and Ray Clayton, 1001 7th Avenue Northwest, Cassen, Minnesota 55944. That was the end of the emailed comments I've received.
Thank you. And Mr. Schramm, forgive me, sir, did you have anything you wanted to share before we got too far into this process?
I'll wait if I,
It's up to you, sir. You don't have to say a thing if you don't want to.
actually, if I wait till everything's presented,
Okay,
if that would be
sure.
okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I move this a little bit? Okay. Good evening. My name is Christina Screeden, and I live at 1103 5th Avenue Northwest with my husband, Eric Screeden. We have 2 children, excuse me, one in the elementary school and one in the middle school. We've been residents and homeowners of Casson for 13 years. Life brought us to southern Minnesota, but love brought us to Casson. Love for the small town and love for the community, love for the lifelong connections that we've made, and staying in Casson was important to us when we went through the home buying process to move from the northeast side of Casson to the northwest side of Casson a little over a year ago. And in that process, of course, you do a lot of weighing your pros and cons in a move, and we did our due diligence working with Tim Merrick and finding our new house, and a lot of conversation happened in the undeveloped property that was just north of us, the same property that is being discussed here today. It was explained that single-family homes would be put into that, and it was zoned as such. Had this proposal change in zoning been discussed then, we never would have purchased the home on Fifth Avenue Northwest. Adding so many families with the proposed 108 rental townhouses will add astronomical traffic to an area already utilized by so many in town that do not live in the neighborhood. With a 16th Street in front of the new Quick Trip not completed, 5th Avenue Northwest and 12th Avenue Northwest, or 12th Street, are used to navigate 8th Avenue Northwest, or as we call it, the dump road. I work from home and have my home office in the front of the house, and all day long I am able to see the barrage of traffic that is on our roads. Adding such a large concentration of families to a plot of land zoned for single-family homes is unsafe for everyone. The traffic largely never yields at the intersection of 12th Street and 5th Avenue. In fact, they rarely stop for pedestrians either, which is why I walk my elementary daughter to the school bus every day to ensure she's able to cross safely already. This is a problem already, and now add hundreds of additional cars to that mix, knowing that 108 rental townhouses will have more than one vehicle. Additionally, with adding Manterville Avenue, the morning and evening traffic, with taking out the stoplights and adding the roundabouts, don't worry, this won't become anti-roundabout talk, but it has made turning either direction in Manterville Avenue in the morning and evening commute much more difficult. With nothing to break up the traffic, and adding hundreds more cars to that situation is a major concern and is detrimental. Raising our children in a small town was something important to us and something my husband and I didn't experience growing up. We grew up in the suburbs, Apple Valley and Eagan respectively. With the proposed increase to zoning of this property, our schools, which are already overloaded and struggle to staff adequately, will further burden these issues, impacting all students and families already attending Casson-Manterville schools. Additionally, we want Casson to remain the small town we have come to love and cherish. Adding such a congested population to the heart of the town goes against everything we love. Families wanting to live in Casson are absolutely welcome to purchase one of the many single-family homes currently listed for sale, work with the contractor to build on the property as it's zoned today for low density, or any of the other properties that are around town. Furthermore, Windsor Court recently discussed expanding 85 affordable homes and building a community center. That's another option. Above and beyond the traffic and school concerns is the property tax implications on all Casson residents. Already, our property taxes are higher than our families who live in the aforementioned suburbs. Suburbs with more amenities, better school districts, and if these 108 rental townhouses are subsidized, we the homeowners will be hit with even higher property taxes, with no additional benefit, not to mention, this would be met with lower property valuation. The proposed plan back in May was passionately opposed by residents and tabled by this board because of the very real concerns and impacts to traffic, schools, and taxes. While moving the exact plan to a slightly larger plot doesn't rectify the very real and raw concerns current homeowners have, I see no viable reason why it would be okay to move the plan forward today. It is worth mentioning before I sit down, that having a property this size is so important to have it managed. And since you are only as good as your reputation precedes you, Schramm Construction has been using Lloyd Management. Lloyd Management's reviews available on the Better Business Bureau are awful and leave nothing to be desired for the town of Casson. Thank you for your time and serious consideration.
Hello, my name is Dasha Sokolowski. I live on 1104 7th Avenue Northwest. So this proposed development would extend my road and extend into the development and then wrap around and come back to 5th Avenue Northwest, which is where Christina, who just spoke, lives. Us as a whole, the majority of this room in here is our neighborhood, is Stone Ridge neighborhood. We come here with the same view that we do not believe that this is the right spot to put this development. We have a lot of concerns, as Christina said, with traffic. So extending that road, then it would come back out onto 12th. Bigelow is already building 46 single-family homes, the ground's already moving, it's already approved, right directly across where this development would be. Everyone would come on to 8th Avenue or the dump road, and there's nothing being changed about where we go with traffic from there. So there is a proposal in there for 13th Street Northwest to connect over to the other side of town, but when would that be without 16th Avenue or 16th Street being done? Right now, a lot of us have to go up to Mantorville and drop back down into the schools just to bring our kids to school in the morning because there is too much traffic. We very much value the safety that we have in our neighborhood. Our kids can walk to and from their houses. They play with each other. We all watch out for each other. We watch out for our kids, and we very much like that safety in our neighborhood. The other thing that Christina brought up was the decreased home values and resales. A lot of us, we're all working class families in our neighborhood, and we worked very hard for these investments in our homes. We understand that there is a need for affordable housing in Casson, and we agree, just like there is a shortage of housing everywhere. But we do not feel that this is the appropriate spot for it. We also have a lot of concerns with strain on public services. So Dodge County EMS is at risk of going away because they do not have enough full-time staff, funding, full-time volunteers. West Concord already had to suspend their daytime EMS services because of staffing and funding, and then that would leave Hayfield EMS left in Dodge County to cover the rest of Dodge County. I'm a registered nurse, and I find that very frightening that we are wanting to add even more people to Casson without fixing the current problems we have with public services. We have no full-time firefighters in Casson. They're on-call pay. We don't have enough police as it is in Casson due to retention and salary, and that is a nationwide problem also. But between this development, Bigelow's development, the extension of Winslow Court and the apartments, I think if we're averaging about 4 to 5 people per household, we're looking at close to 1,000 people influx when we haven't addressed the issues that we already have. It also puts strain on our schools. Our elementary schools are out of room, and unless Project Kids is going to have a new building to go into, where are we putting those kids in our schools? Do we want 30 kids in each classroom? We love our schools in KM, and we pride our schools, and we love our great teachers that we have here. And our teachers deserve to be supported and not be strained, and our kids deserve that great education that we are able to give them here at Casson Mantorville. We also have a huge child care service shortage. I know that Strom talked about it on the northeast side, that this would be workforce housing. Well, if we're bringing in people for a workforce, where are their kids going to go if we have no daycares? We have a neighbor in our neighborhood whose infant child is on a 3-year waiting list for a daycare here in Casson. It's just not acceptable, and it's not responsible to have a huge influx of people coming into our city when we can't even help the people we already have. Let alone, it's not fair to the people moving to Casson when we can't help them and provide them with the resources that they need. We also have a concern with the tax revenue. I know there's a lot of tax breaks with affordable housing. I know it depends on which affordable housing, subsidize, all of those different categories. If there's a loss of tax revenue for the city of Casson, who does that fall back on? Does that fall back on us as property owners? I mean, everyone's strapped in this economy, and now you're asking for us to pay even more and more. We are already paying for for Highway 14 that was redone. That came back on us. I just don't think that this is the right place to put this development. I agree people need affordable housing, but I think there's a lot better places we can put this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kaylee Smith, formerly Erickson. I am a third generation, raising the fourth generation. We are at 607 12th Street Northwest, which is right on the 7th Ave and 12th Street corner. I do not have a book because I can't read that much, so I'll make it quick. A few things I want to point out is the traffic. Not only vehicles, we're talking people. Right on that dump road is a bike path. We have people there any time of the day, windy, rainy, snowy. People are walking. They're walking their dogs, their kids, bikes. They cut right through 12th Street to go to the North Park. That's where our pool is. That's where our softball fields are. That's where a lot of things are happening, festival in the park. A ton of foot traffic is going through there all the time. People are not stopping at those, like it's been said, they're not stopping at that corner. They're not slowing down at that corner. They're speeding up. I've taken, I don't even know how many videos off my Ring doorbell of cars just speeding by because the next time I'm going to get them, but I never do. But it happens all the time. So you're going to have all those people coming down 7th Ave, coming down 5th Ave, funneled right where all the other, well, most of the newer section is also funneled right onto 12th Street, and then cutting through 5th, by the park. It's dangerous. There's not enough people taking care of our children right now on those streets, and then you want to add a whole bunch more and say, drive by that, guys. On top of that, the city has weeds growing on 12th Street, so no offense to that, but I don't trust that those streets are going to be taken care of any better than they are. And as far as childcare, we have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 9-month-old, so we're already crazy, but our 3-year-old is just getting off the wait list for infant care in Casson. We have 3 different daycares. It takes us 45 minutes to navigate all 3 daycares in the morning, 45 minutes to navigate in the evening, and that's just with your basic traffic from my husband and I remote working. So I work for Human Services in Olmsted County. I worked in housing. My clientele are these people that are going to need these housing. I am 100% for affordable housing. We need it. And I'm sorry, neighbors, I would even be for it if it were not 108 units that are stacked up on top of each other without even grass to mow. Like, that's insane. If I had children in that household, what am I going to do? Hey, guys, go outside and throw a football in the road. Like, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? If they have dogs, where are they going to poop? Like, where are they going outside? You know, it's just brick and mortar, and it's just money for the construction company and tax cut for the developer, and it's just not fair to the rest of the residents that you're trying to push into there. So that's my piece. Thank you, guys.
I want to add one more thing. Sorry. On 5th Avenue, we have our assisted living facility here in Casson, and then we also have the Stone Ridge Patio Association, which is 65 and above seniors. With that road, it's very busy with EMS firefighters from the call that we get for assistant living. They fall, they get sick, and we also have our seniors there. So there's a lot already going on that road, and then potentially adding all of those people and all those units can further strain our road, along with our EMS, our firefighters, everything, and that just seems to be a lot, all in one area. Thank you.
I really did come here to speak, but after that, I just had to. My name is Linda Fields, and I just moved here 2 months ago from Rochester to be closer to my family who live here, my son and his family, and my grandkids. And I live in the patio homes. I just bought one. You probably all know Gene Graves. I bought his house. So my backyard is right on that street. And the amount of traffic that we're going to see, and we do... I'm on the younger end of the people that live in those patio homes. And I came here to enjoy my retirement in Casson, to be in a small town, to be in a better, what I think is a better community than Rochester, to get away from all the traffic, to get away from so many people. And I was really looking forward to enjoying it here. And I feel like the value of my patio home is going to decrease immediately when this happens. I'm really concerned about the traffic, because I can sit on my patio and watch the traffic now. And there are a lot of people who use that street. There's trails that go through there. And I'm also concerned about the taxes, because honestly, I'm paying more for taxes here than I did in Rochester, but to me it was worth it. But all of us on the patio homes are on fixed incomes, and to have that continue to go up to support low-income housing in an area where I don't feel it really belongs, I think is the wrong decision. Thank you.
My name is Steve Okers. I live at 600 12th Street Northwest. And I've only been there a couple of years, but prior to me moving to Casson, I was the Public Works Director for the City of Pine Island. And frankly, to try to shoehorn 108 townhomes in there is absolutely ridiculous. Unless you live there along 12th Street or 8th Avenue, you have no idea what that traffic is like there. And this is just asinine to try to shove them townhomes in there. It's crazy. Thank you.
Ryan Christensen, I'm on City Council, I live at 1200 13th Avenue Northwest. You're probably not gonna clap for me. I'm indifferent on this project. I live 4 blocks away, but there's some misnomers, and I really appreciate all the things people put on Facebook, and come here, this is awesome. I have yet to be in a meeting in 4 years on City Council that is this many people. So your passion matters to us, I'll tell you that, it does. There are some misnomers. The school right now has 280 open enrolled students. That means there are 160 kids coming from Triton right now to our school district. If you add anything in town, the school can close open enrollment, and those students could still go to Casson Manor, will not increase your school population. So, the school district can change that, if you are concerned about that. They could close it now and you'd have less students in your classroom. They choose not to. Secondly, the EMS conversation, I've sat on council long enough, I'm on the EMS committee as well. Dodge County Ambulance is struggling partly because they use their general funds to buy things instead of taking out loans. They have put themselves in this position. Yes, the state does not support them through aid, but we did not do that to them. Adding any residents to this community doesn't put that impact on them. When we offered to help be part of the fire hall, they chose not to. If we were to give them a space for free, we'd be using your tax dollars to do that. I assume a few of you would be upset if we gave free space to an entity that makes money in a public setting like that. Maybe, maybe not. With that also, the majority of their staff live in Dodge Center. The majority of their staff pick up their vehicles in Dodge Center, the ambulance, and come here. So if we were to house one here, they still have to drive here, get to their ambulance. It would not change the amount of time it takes them to get from their place of work or home to your residence, no matter how many houses we add to town, because they still have to come from their location. Those are the big things for me. And the last thing, we've added apartment complexes. I think that's really helped our community, bringing some different home ownership or rental properties to us in town, which is something we haven't had. I've lived here for 37 years. We had never had that to this capacity. When those opened up for sale, Facebook blew up with concerns about the cost of them. Right? Everyone was saying $1,500 for a single room unit was too high. This is an option for families that can't afford $1,500. I don't care where it goes. I'm indifferent. Right? I live on 1200 13th Avenue. I don't live close enough. Well, I'll see it, but it won't be my backyard. It doesn't impact my property taxes. If it did, I'd be concerned too. But at some point, we need this in our community because we want businesses to come. We hear it all the time that people want businesses. If you don't have families that can work in businesses, then who's going to come here and build a business? Who's going to open a restaurant? Who's going to open a small convenience store? It's hard to do that when nobody wants to work in those. The median income in this town is $360,000, or home value. That is one of the reasons our school property taxes are so high. It costs you more to send your kids here because we make too much money and we're too intelligent as a community. If you want to see the state give more money to the school district, which is something we've heard over the last 2 years, Byron's going through it right now. You saw what happened with our referendum. We are in the same boat. The state doesn't give us money because we're too smart and we're too rich. Okay? If we add this type of development somewhere in town, at some point we have to find a spot for it, it will save you money in the long run. Because the state will say, your median income has gone down, your house values have gone down, we can give you more state aid. They're not going to do that if you make too much money. So there are some benefits to having this, and I don't, like I said, I'm indifferent on where it goes, but at some point, we have to look and say, this needs to be in our community for people. We can't judge who will or won't move there. That's in the future. You don't know who's gonna live there. You can't judge someone that doesn't live there. You don't know who those people are, right? Look around your community. If that was you wanting to move there, how would you feel if someone came here and said, oh, they're not gonna be great people, they're not gonna pay taxes, they're not gonna do this? How would that make you feel if that were you? Would that be a community you'd wanna come to? Would it, right? I sat and listened to these, I watched them online, I'm not part of planning and zoning, but we hear these things. And if this was someone wanting to come to our community, and they heard us say, we don't want something like this in our backyard because the people that it would bring, that concerns me, right? I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you did.
It's traffic that's really concerning.
I did not speak when you did. I'm not concerned about who lives there. Traffic, yeah, it's gonna be an issue. 16th Street will be done next year, correct?
We're on it.
16th Street. I live in Northwest. If you live in Northwest and 16th Street connects to the school district, would you use it? Probably, I would, right? Again, I don't care if this goes through or not. That's your choice to tell them what you want. But we have to also think about long-term, what's Casson gonna look like? What do you want from Casson Manor? You don't want that? Perfect. Tell people. You're here, awesome. But keep it to what you want it to be. Like I said, you're not gonna clap for me, and you shouldn't. This is not the place to clap for people.
Hi, I'm Allison Knox. Live at 1100 7th Avenue Northwest, and I just wanted to say that the EMT and fireman issue is really concerning for me, and I have a loved one who lives there too, who has type 1 diabetes, and if something ever happened to that person within a certain amount of time, and what it is that all of these extra people without some type of, ambulance, maybe there's something going on in that neighborhood right next door and they can't attend my husband because there's so many people that have been added to this. That's my one concern. And the second one, it is the traffic. Everybody has brought up such really good ideas and not ideas, but facts about just what happened down 8th Street or Dump Road. And, people are going like, at least could we get like a speed limit sign from like, I don't know, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you have no idea what the speed limit is between 35 miles per hour and then like up to, like, could we have maybe like an indication of how fast you guys want us to go for that too? But they go about 50 to 60 miles an hour between 7th Street right there and then down right before Manorville. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Shiel, and I live in the patio homes on Fifth Avenue. I'm on the very corner, so I'm in the intersection of 12th Street and Fifth Avenue. I have called the police numerous times for people speeding. They come down Fifth Avenue past Prairie Meadows, and you can hear their tires squeal around the corner going down 12th Street. There's, that whole development is small children. You've got, like they said, Prairie Meadows there with older folks walking down that street. I can't imagine more traffic on that street. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Missy Goldschmidt. I live at 1104 3rd Street Northeast. I was present at this meeting in April when almost the exact replica of this development was proposed for the northeast side of town.
The difference was that the development for the northeast side had less units and more acreage. And I'm here tonight because I feel strongly that the proposal impacts our community as a whole rather than the area of the city we reside in. During the meeting in April, I expressed several concerns, including the potential tax breaks for a developer, how those tax breaks might impact property tax for homeowners in Casson, the safety risks that a significant increase in traffic running through residential neighborhoods without the needed infrastructure would pose, and worry that added pressure of a large influx of children into a school system that has already had high turnover for teachers would result in loss of more of our invaluable teachers. I did some research, and I was shocked to learn that affordable housing units, depending on how they're classified, results in significant tax breaks for the developer. For example, a classification of a 4D1 would mean a 0.25% tax capacity, which means that a property valued at $10.8 million would only pay $27,000 a year in property tax. I don't know how this will be classified or what kind of tax breaks there might be in this situation, but I can imagine there must be something to motivate Mr. Schramm to want to build in our community. I still feel that I don't have a good understanding of what benefits the developer will get from the building and feel that the community deserves more transparency. If the development will not be classified as a 41, then how is it classified? What is the tax capacity? How will it affect the property taxes for everyone in this facility, in the city? I also have concerns about the EMS and hearing that we are not getting services because Dodge County may have misappropriated their own funds. My personal feeling is that we here in Casson have the largest residents in the county, and it is not acceptable to have a delayed response time of 20 minutes or more, which is what I heard happened at the homecoming game when somebody went into cardiac arrest, and 20 minutes is way too long for life or death. So that just, to me, is a concern as well that we need to look at. And I know that doesn't have anything to do with the property here, except that a reduction in property tax for that development may further complicate things for EMS. I had also heard that for the northeast properties, the rental was going to be about $1,800 a unit, and I feel that that is not affordable, and I worry that we're going to have open units there, which I don't even know what the impact of that would be if we can't fill the units. But I wanted to just come here and support the community as a whole, and I think the number of people that you see here today in opposition of this proposal and the over 250 people who have already signed the petition in less than 48 hours since it was created speaks to the level of the community's concern. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else?
Jerry Berg, 506 Fifth Avenue Northwest, different subject. Well, first off, it was stated earlier that I think Triton had an extra number of students coming here, and they could cut that off if they wanted to. I think once the students are already enrolled here, I don't think you can cut them off. You can stop any more from coming, but I don't think you can immediately cut off the present ones. Clear that up. Just a reminder, in 2019, the previous Stone Ridge 2 road it is by Mr. Marty was put in. He made arrangements to not put a water retention pond in that development with a promise that he would work with any new development to the north. And I can't tell from the drawings if that's been figured in or not. So just to remind you that that's an agreement that was made.
It's there, Jerry. Yep.
Hello, my name is John Kisslinger. I live at 906 8th Avenue Northeast. from the perspective of somebody living on the northeast side of town, we were very grateful and relieved when this project, or a similar version of it, was turned down from being put into our portion of Casson. So I very much feel for the people who are residents of Northwest and now have the same concerns. As somebody with a young family, I have a kid in kindergarten and a 3-year-old. We live near the school, we love the school. There's already a tremendous amount of traffic to and from the school each day with the number of students that we have. And we're also, my family shares the concerns about the amount of people and the density that such a project would bring in. We feel it's wrong for Casson, period. Doesn't matter where you put it in another town, not in my backyard, I don't care, he can say that about me, but we believe it's wrong for the community as a whole. It doesn't matter what part of it you put it in. As far as the comment that was made that we are too smart and too wealthy, or we're not dumb enough and poor enough to get help, I don't think we should try to make our community dumber and poorer.
Yep, I don't have much to say. Hello, wasn't planning on talking, Josh Kleitch, 1005 Fifth Avenue Northwest. My wife, children are here with us tonight, so sorry about the noise, not from my wife. So we moved from Chaska, Minnesota, which is up by the Twin Cities, really looking for a small town feel. Normally not this nervous, sorry, thanks guys. So, the gentleman a while ago talked about community, that's not what we're asking, right? When we moved here, there was a plan in place. What we're asking is to keep that plan in place. Okay, we wanna live in a community that has a plan and follows it. Okay? Thank you.
Here, here.
Anyone else? Mr. Schramm, you said you wanted to close us out?
Good evening. My name is Troy Schramm, and we started this, let me back up, when, in I think it was May, there was a planning commission on the Carter Blaine property. There's a couple things here that I'd just like to make sure that we have an understanding of, if we could. I know they are saying subsidized. When I refer to workforce housing, and I refer to market rate, what I'm saying is this property is not and will not be eligible for vouchers or low income, any type of financial vouchers in regards to that. So, and that would have been the same situation over on the northeast side as well, on Carter's property. Now, with that, I know this evening there was a conversation about connectivity. That's one thing that really drew us to this property, was the trail system, essentially whether it went to the school campus, the public school campus, or whether it went to the city parks or out onto the trail. The connectivity was there. That's what was attractive to us when we sat down with city staff and went through this. I think it's beneficial for John. John's with Jones Haug Smith. He's the engineer, not the city engineer, but he's the one that helped design and work with city staff on this. And I think one of the items that we could clear up here is when this is, if this is phased in, how this is phased in, creates the traffic, and it opens up to the east as well on 13th as far as with Mr. Schutte in regards to the connectivity. With that being said, I'll just let John speak on that part.
Sure. I don't know if everyone here, if the public here is aware of the previous plat that went through for Mr. Schutte and the requirements of that connectivity. Is that something that staff could brief them on? Well, we understand and are recognizing the increased traffic that right now would be forced through 7th and 5th down to 12th. So, but I don't know if everyone was paying attention to that previous planning and zoning action. Ian, is that?
Well, yeah, the proposal for the northeast subdivision, traffic was a big concern for that one as well. The key difference with this proposal here tonight is the number of access points.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about Creekside Grove.
Oh, Creekside Grove, you're talking about, yeah, so the 13th Street, the proposed 13th Street public, road right here. I'll just go to my other map here so we can get a larger context, but, the Creekside Grove was the name of the full, parcel, which has now been subdivided into the two halves. So I'll just draw on here, if I can find the right portion. Okay, so just for context, we've got the dump road over here and Highway 57 over here. Do you see it? I'll make a line here, it'll show up in blue. So this is more or less the location of the proposed 13th Street. So when completed, it would go all the way from the proposed subdivision we're talking about tonight, all the way to Highway 57. And there was a question about when or if it would happen, and we're working with the property owner right now to secure a development agreement that would require that extension of 13th Street to come into play anytime there's a development on this residual portion on the east side, which will likely happen in time with the second phase of the Schramm development. So for the time being, and Brandon can speak more about the traffic component for sure, but just saying we've got the two access points already, and then the third one in place, that'll push a lot of the traffic from going into the Stone Ridge area out to the Highway 57 area instead.
Thank you. I didn't know if everyone was aware of that, and I just want to bring that up because it is being worked on by both us and staff. So those traffic concerns aren't unrecognized.
So what is the timeline for that?
I guess staff would have to answer that.
So your phase one would go when, and then your phase two would go when, Troy?
Phase 1, it would go essentially in '25. The phase 2 would be in, assuming everything to the 26, 27, in regards to that portion of it. Now, I think it's important to say, with the phase 2 in the developer agreement, it also trips the connection to the east side, and I know we had that conversation, make sure we have that with, the east 12th would be built at that time as well.
Can someone explain the different phases?
Yeah, I'll go back to my other, which one was it? Not that one. So these are the two different phases. This dashed line is the dividing line between the two. So all the way on the west side, this is phase 1, and then the east side is phase 2. So just for numbers' sake, the phase 1, let's see, I wrote it down, has 48 townhome units and then 7 single-family housing units, so 55 total for phase 1. And then phase 2 on the east side is 60 townhomes and 6 single-family homes, to add 66 more for a total of 121 for the whole piece right here.
There's the community room.
Yeah, and there's the community room, which is up here in this corner, which would be available for the tenants of the townhomes.
May I ask, when would the trail connections that are proposed be done in phase 1?
It'd be part of phase 2.
Be part of phase 2, so the trail that's shown,
Well,
that would
it
connect
depends
over
where.
16th Street won't be done until phase 2's construction progress?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
There's a trail on the north side of the property that then cuts up and is intended to go up to 16th Street, correct?
Yes,
That wouldn't be constructed until phase 2?
correct.
Okay.
Then, any other questions on the streets as far as connectivity as that for that portion? The one item that I would like to discuss, or mention just briefly here, in regards to the townhomes themselves, they do have, in the suites, they have the washer, dryer, they have the amenities, they have a patio off the back porch, off the back of each individual unit has its own porch there. In regards to this has been a very successful model for myself and my partner on this. We've created numerous ones in southern Minnesota and also in Iowa in regards to this. With that being said, they are a model that the next step where these people move to are actually buying existing housing stock, or potentially, there is, people do move out of town, et cetera, in regards to that too. But this is, and has been with other communities, a good incubator for purchasing different housing stock. The other item, I know I feel obligated, and maybe this isn't the place to say it right now, but I know there was reference to Lloyd Management. Lloyd Management does do low-income housing. Their hands are tied. They cannot respond in a public format when they're being leashed or exposed, or whatever the case you want to call it, on social media or Yelp or whatever the case may be. They cannot respond because of HEPA, because these people are low-income tenants. And I just want to repeat again that this is not, Schramm or the ownership will not take vouchers of public assistance in regards to this. This is essentially, you live there, you pay for your rent. It's that simple. And that's been our model through the last 14 years in regards to this product. We do have other low-income products that we do use vouchers on, but that isn't in a townhome capacity. That's basically what I have here for right now. Thank you.
Are you open to a few questions, sir?
I am.
In terms of management, exactly how would you have this staffed, and how many people would you have on site?
With the management company, that would be up to the management company how many they staff on site, and essentially there'll be a resident manager there. The community room there on the northwest side will be an office as well, along with the community.
Can you guarantee
Is it
there will be a resident staff?
Is it typical for the resident manager to live in the development that he's...
Each one is different, yes.
Do you have pictures?
Any other questions?
What do these places look like?
Don't have access to the keyboard. Let's see.
I don't know if this is really a Q&A session anyway. So...
They're available online. Let's see, what was some names that we could search independently, Troy?
You can go to Belle Plaine, there's Brecken Place Townhomes. There's also Fox Meadows and Eagle Lake. I can continuously go on for different ones, but I think that's...
Yeah.
Mr. Ferris, are you allowing questions from the audience or just from the Planning and Zoning Committee?
I'm not going to answer from the...
Okay. I'm afraid Mr. Schramm isn't going to answer any questions this evening.
Can we say any
anything back after he decided to wait until we all made our concerns before giving us more information? Or are we not allowed to?
Are you done, Mr. Shaw?
Do I have an opportunity to rebuttal after that? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I don't know where we go with some of this. I mean, this really isn't a Q&A session. It was really meant to collect feedback from folks here in town. If you want me to stick around afterwards to answer questions, I don't know if...
For the city too then, yeah, so.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Schramm wants to hang around and answer questions, but...
I'd be glad to.
Okay, I mean, we can hang around after the meeting, and if you have something for me, but I admittedly don't have a lot more information than anybody else does in this particular situation, so... Thank you, sir. We're still on our public hearing for the comprehensive plan amendment. Does anybody have any additional comments specific to that topic?
I just learned about this meeting through the news today, so I didn't get a chance to scour this, but now that I see, if this were to go through, could the city not require them to put a wider, maybe even a public street on the north side, emptying out onto the county road, alleviate a lot of the traffic?
Question, Mr. Statement. Sure, thank you. Any other
I just have one comment. I think 2 to 3 years before there's other access is way too long for things to...
What would you like to say?
Pardon?
What would you like to say?
What I like to say?
No, ma'am. C.
I don't know, I'm not a planner, but I just think
Okay.
3 years of traffic flowing through there without an alternative is too long.
I just have one comment. I've heard that there's a lot of traffic problems going in front of the, James Mondial, 1100 7th Avenue Northwest, Casson. So I see that there's a lot of traffic going past the townhomes there. I did notice that the intersection of, where was it? The intersection of 5th, 12th, and where Abbey Lane all meet there, there's 2 yield signs there. And I've heard quite a few people saying that they have problems with cars going fast by there. Would it be a possibility to put a stop sign in there instead of a yield sign, so that it would slow them down a little bit before they just speed around the corner if the street is open that way? I know the intersection is not continually going down 5th Street yet, but, I mean, if it does happen, I'm sure they'll change the signs anyway, but I'd just like to see if we could get a proposal for a stop sign instead of a yield. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm Beth again, 18 Abbey Lane. Number one, are all of these rental properties, or are they the single-family homes bought by people?
They are bought. It is single family, they're for sale.
And the apartment buildings, or the townhouses you're putting up
Our rent.
are rent? Okay, and, oh gosh, now I forgot my other question. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, me again. All right, Kaylee Smith, 607 12th Street, Northwest. I'm even more heated now than I was when I got here. I appreciate you trying to explain your rich man version of putting a whole bunch of houses in our backyard. However, I don't care if the toilets are gold and they're paying $3,500 a week in rent. This is way too many properties. Cut it in half, present that again. Another thing that's really bothering me is his continuing to say, the meeting with the city and planning this with the city, yet we just heard about this. We are the ones helping pay for the roads in this town, and some guy who's living in, I don't even know, I don't even care, saying that he's talking to you guys more often about this in our backyard than we are, breaks my heart. Like, I had a little more faith in my city than that, and it's really sad that we're coming up here saying, we love this town, we love this community, and yet we had a weekend notice about a meeting, throw in some apartments up in our back. I just don't get it. Also, 13th Street going in 2027, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I got 4 little kids on the corner house. Unless you want to build a fence for me, which costs, I don't even know, $15,000, I don't trust having my kids in the yard with all that traffic constantly. So there's like, someone's got to give. There's no way anyone can look at this and say, this is what we need right now in Casson to build our community.
Levi Ranvick, 505 12th Street Northwest. I've seen enough of this around Rochester that there's some good ones and some bad ones. And, like your apartment complex is great right now. There's a lot of good people in there. But you give it 10 years, and what happens? Management is not found when you walk in the door. Nobody around all week trying to deliver stuff to the office, and you can't get a hold of anybody. So that one down there is great right now, but give it 10 years, you know? It is probably something we need, but this plan is not the plan we want. We need to work on a different plan, and working together, I can show you guys good ones, I can show you bad ones. I can, you know, I'll take you around. But this one's not gonna work, so I expect a no out of this plan. Let's work together and come up with something better. Thank you for your time. I got more work to
Misty Goldschmidt, 1104 3rd Street Northeast. I heard that Mr. Schramm will be requesting a 15-year tax increment financing method. I do not understand that. I feel like our community deserves to know what that means, because what I feel it means, without knowing very much about it, is that it reduces his tax burden and puts it on everybody else. And the crises with EMS, the school system, everybody just living day to day and trying to make it through with the costs the way they are, is happening now, not in 15 years.
Anyone else? If not, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you all. Brendan, would you like to talk a little bit about traffic and things we could do potentially to address what appears to be an existing issue plus additional traffic that may evolve as a result of this proposal?
Yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to. So Brandon Theobald, the consulting city engineer. Just big picture on traffic, just to maybe add to what Ian spoke to earlier. 16th Street, we are in final design that is planned to be constructed next year. I suspect that once that 16th Street's built, EMS time to northwest Castle is going to get a lot better than it is now. So it is in the cards to be built. You can see here, Ian talked about the phasing. Phase 1 is the west half. Phase 2 would be the east half. Staff has had some discussions, you know, to the point that developers come to staff, we talk to them, we look at traffic concerns, and I'll address them here shortly. So there's a lot going on that has to have some stuff vetted before we roll it out in the formal public hearing. So just understand that concerns are they're not, you know, behind the scenes necessarily in a negative aspect. It's let's get our arms around it, let's have the engineer run some numbers here and talk about traffic. So so to that point, we don't have any good traffic numbers on the roads due south out to 5th, 7th, and 8th, so I don't know what the existing traffic is exactly on those roads. But just the traffic from this area here, just back to the napkin numbers that I was working up here, about 1,000 trips per day is what we'd be looking at. The threshold that transportation engineers use for what's a busy residential street, right? What is that? How many trips per day is that? It's right around 1,000. That's when we start seeing complaints. We have some roads in town that are over 1,000 trips per day, specifically behind the fairgrounds. That's like 1,200. Obviously 57, there's some residential property along 57. That's like 10,000 vehicles. So you just get a little perspective. 8th Avenue, the dump road, which is a county road, there's not a lot of houses fronting that road, is about 1,500 trips per day. There's some good numbers on some of the streets in town, like I said, nothing really on Fifth and 12th to the south. So just, all right, let's move that 1,000, where's that 1,000 gonna go? And we as engineers look at interim conditions, so, let's say 13th Street to the east is not currently built, right? Let's say worst case scenario, city didn't have anything in place to build 13th Street, it's not built. What is that gonna look like if this was built today, without 13th Street? So I just ran some quick numbers, say we, put 500 out to 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue, and 500 of the 1,000, out 12 to go to the south towards, like, say, the pool, in that area, in that existing residential. If the existing is about 500 vehicles a day, that it ends up about 1,000, which is probably pushing that threshold to it. So I think your concerns are valid, from a traffic, perspective and what that would mean in the interim condition. Long-term, 13th Street being pushed through, staff, again, knowing that this transportation discussion would likely be happening, has had some conversations about requiring 13th Street, and requiring 13th Street either with this development or to be required if the property to the east develops anything. So that's been discussed, and likely is going to be an item that the city staff is going to bring forward, engineer, planning, and administration, assuming things move forward, about 13th Street when that's going to be built. So your concerns are valid. We've discussed them. I think from a worst-case perspective, let's say this is built as proposed, 13th Street's not constructed, in whatever interim condition that is, in timeline, those roads are going to be pushing what a normal residential road is, capacity-wise, vehicles per day, that start becoming a nuisance road. We get complaints, not staffing traffic, we get it, and like I said, about 1,000 vehicles per day, and we do have some roads that are 1,200-plus vehicles a day. Fifth Street, actually, to the south of here is about the same, 1,200, 1,300 vehicles per day, and like I said, behind the fairgrounds on Fifth, obviously those are really peak time too, when school, pick up and drop off. So just wanted to give that a little perspective that we have looked at that, so it is a concern from the city engineering side of things, because I get those complaints, I hear it from council, we're looking at it. So I think if we're moving forward, the 13th Street discussion is going to be brought to the city council about how do we ultimately mitigate that, and are we okay with an interim condition on some timeline, and what do we do to protect the city to make sure 13th Street is built. We've already talked about, let's just say hypothetically, the Strom development's built. If anything to the east on that residual property, which goes to 16th Street, 57, to the right-hand side of the sheet here, which is kind of that draw, if anything's built, and they're likely requiring 13th Street to be built all the way to 57. That's been discussed and would likely, that would be likely, I'll say, worst-case scenario for forcing 13th Street to be built before full build of the Strom property, but we haven't talked about that yet with the city council. So we got steps in the process. If we're good with the land use, we'll work on the roadways and move it forward, and there'll be other decisions for the city council to consider. It's not necessarily a planning condition, but if the planning commission had recommended to council, which, by the way, there's 2 council representatives on the planning chair, or planning board, tonight. So I think those concerns have been heard, and obviously are heard at the council level. So, anything else, Mr. Ferris?
Not unless you have any other comments as our engineer that are relevant to what we're discussing. Any other concerns?
Nope. I guess maybe, big picture, 16th Street, just stepping back even higher level. Have talked to the county engineer about a second access there. County engineers along County Roads don't necessarily prefer a lot of access, like to have access control. So 16th Street, like I said, is being built next spring, this time next year. Knock on wood, we have it all built out. We are also going to build turn lanes on north and southbound 8th Avenue to turn out on 16th Street. And then Bigelow is developing on the west side of 8th Avenue here. He has committed to build 16th Street continuing to the west of the dump road, to tie in his subdivisions to 8th, or 216 west of 8th. So we view that as high priority from a city transportation perspective, and then ultimately getting that traffic to 16th Street to get it east-west as a parallel collector road into 57, or as opposed to using 14, either via 57 to go into town or up to 16th Street and go east out of town. Furthermore, we've been talking to the city of Byron about connecting into that. Our 16th Street ultimately connects into what they call a bus barn road on the south side of the school property. So there have been some high-level talks about getting that punched through there. And then also when the area to the north there is city and county controlled, other than the Bigelow development has committed to dedicating enough right-of-way for a future roundabout at 16th Street and 8th Avenue. So there's been a lot of conversations from a staff level with Transportation, because we see your concerns, and they're not invalid. Just understand that we're talking about them, and this discussion will be moving forward to the city council if we're moving forward tonight, so. I think that's it.
For all your numbers, including the Bigelow, for the traffic? Sorry.
Tom, I'll let you, if you'd like me to answer.
No, by all means, sir.
Yeah. So no, 1,000 vehicles per day is what I roughed out. We didn't do a transportation study, so I'd have to verify those more. I think it's pretty close. Or John, maybe, I don't know if you ran some trips per day.
Similar.
Yeah, something similar. So Bigelow is gonna be to the west. So Bigelow suspecting, well, he's not gonna have any access along 8th other than out to 16th Street. So what's being developed now and farther to the north is all gonna come out to 16th Street or to the south, and then come out to 12th Street. So that'll feed up to 16th Street and then buzz across on 16th Street. And then as traffic grows along 16th Street, like I said, the county and the city are planning on likely a future roundabout there at that intersection, knowing that it's gonna potentially be a problematic intersection. In the interim time, we'll have turn lanes north and southbound on 8th Avenue.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Brandon?
Yeah, Brandon, do you know the current status of on-street parking and what's planned? And then secondly, is there anything we could do from traffic management to address concerns with speeding or just increasing safety with more cars driving down 12th?
I would say not likely on 12th. I think what's being proposed on the two private roads, there's not gonna be able to be parking along, the private roads there, but there would be public, parking on 13th Street. But on 12th, I'm not sure what would really mitigate there. There was a comment about the stop sign. I take those to Public Works, and if this is built, we'll look at the stop sign of 12th and 5th Avenue there. But we may look at changing that, or potentially will change. I will say, the speed limit was mentioned, and stop signs, people drive the speed that they feel the road is. They don't, we can put up all the signs we want, it really doesn't affect traffic, and that's been shown in studies. Same thing with the inappropriate place stop sign, you can even get more non-compliance with those stop signs, so I wanna look at that a little closer, Public Works, just to, instead of just jumping to a conclusion that a stop sign's good or bad at the intersection, so.
And forgive my ignorance, but when does Dump Road turn in from a county road into a City of Casson road?
Well, it's technically a county road the whole way.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of the city actually getting involved in replacing signage or setting speed limits, it's a little bit, I mean, we could go to the county and ask.
Yeah, yep, you could. In order to change it, the county engineer would have to do a speed study. You're probably not gonna wanna go down that road. Generally, they don't usually go down if they're currently speeding, because it's based on the current traveling. I did look, it looks like it does turn to 35 southbound. It must be on 10th Avenue, I believe it does.
Okay.
Which seemed like maybe if we continue to have public roads out there, more traffic to 12th, maybe extend that farther to the north, to have more of a 35-mile-an-hour zone, could be a discussion I can have with the county engineer.
But I would also assume, and I'm out of pocket here, gentlemen, and I'll apologize for it, but if it is a county road, the City of Casson Police are not gonna patrol it.
They do patrol it.
They do patrol it? Okay. Like I said, I'm...
Speak into the mic, I can't hear that.
Can't hear you.
Sure. I was asking about a local police department, and if they would be patrolling a county road, was basically my question, sir.
In the city of Casson, they would patrol the city of Casson, correct?
Yes.
Doesn't matter what road it is?
Correct. I said it was...
A highway out there, so
Yeah.
they
And I...
should be able to patrol the county road.
And I said, sir, it's a little bit outside of my purview. I didn't know. I was asking it as a question. So I was corrected, and you are correct. Joe, in terms of fire and EMS response, do you see any challenges with this development?
Well, there's been all kinds of comments and concerns in regards to, fire and EMS response. Not even really 100% sure where to start. The first comment I will make, is in regards to the comment that was brought up about the issue that happened, homecoming evening out at the high school. I don't know where you received your information, but you're full of crap.
Seriously, have you talked to your constituents?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
When it comes to those kinds of situations, absolutely. It was probably within a minute or two, and responders were on scene, and providing care for the individual that had a cardiac. So, so your 20 minutes response and concerns there are laughable, and you should probably do a little bit more research before you come throwing stuff like that out, so, to be honest. So, the issues and concerns that I have, with this development, from a fire and EMS standpoint, basically come down to the total number. I personally think it's too many. I think we're too congested. I don't agree with the private streets. I've never agreed with the private streets in all of the development that we have in this community that has private streets. I think it's a need. We absolutely need housing like this in our town, but I think it's too congested, so. Can we respond? Yes, absolutely we can respond. Can we respond with it built the way that it's drawn and presented here tonight? Yes, absolutely we can. Will there be issues and concerns? Yes. And again, that just comes down to the congestion. We're getting into, obviously, the winter season. Private roads means private contractors for snow removal. They don't run on the same schedule that the rest of the city does. The streets are not the same size as our regular streets. We can put up, like Brandon said, we can put up signage all we want. From a no parking standpoint, all we want. We see how that works at the elementary school. If you have kids that you have to deliver to the elementary school, or have had kids that you had to deliver to the elementary school, good luck getting through that parking lot during rush hour. And putting up a no parking sign or putting up a fire lane sign, means a whole lot of nothing out there during the busy time, so. And that's basically what we would be doing on these private roads, is putting up no parking signs and requesting that there be no parking, so. From the fire and EMS standpoint, that's kinda where I'm at. I just think I think it's too many, I think we're too congested. If it was a little bit less, and we weren't quite as congested, and we had a little bit more room in there, I guess I would be a little bit more for it, but that's just my personal opinion on it, so.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any questions for Joe, gentlemen? Ian, I guess another question that came up, and again, this is not a planning and zoning related topic, but in terms of City of Casson tax dollars going to fund this type of development, I guess I was not aware of any dollars flowing from the city coffers to facilitate this, but again, could be my ignorance. I mean, can you touch on that at the 10,000-foot level, or should we not, this particular?
Well, in terms of what exactly? Funding what?
Are City of Casson tax dollars involved in this project at all?
So they have made a request for tax increment financing. That isn't the purpose of this meeting here tonight. It is on the agenda for the council meeting on Wednesday. There will be a public hearing similar to what we've had here tonight. And the packet that was posted for the council meeting is available on the City of Casson website that has all the information regarding what's being proposed regarding the tax increment financing, or TIF as it's commonly referred to. But essentially, with the tax increment financing, you start with the base value of taxes. So the property right now, of course, is still paying taxes. When you add all this development on it, of course, the value goes up, therefore the taxes go up. But with the TIF, what that does, it says that anything extra gets directed towards developing the property itself, so it can go towards infrastructure, any of that sort of thing. The key thing, though, with the TIF is that certain requirements apply as to the income and the affordability nature of it. So what Mr. Schramm is asking for here is that for 15 years, this tax increment financing would be applied towards the development. But during those 15 years, only 20% of the rental properties would be income-driven, I would say. So the income-driven piece means that according to how many people you have in your household, it's 50% of the area median income. That's who would be allowed to live in 20% of the units. The remaining 80% is open to anyone regardless of your income level. And again, that only applies to when the TIF is active. So 15 years down the line, if all of this gets approved, it would be open to anyone, not even like controlled by incomes at all, if that makes sense. But if you have more questions specifically about the TIF, I would recommend you attend the council meeting on Wednesday.
Thank you.
So is there a potential that would result in loss of tax revenue for the city of Casson that would come back on us as property owners and levies?
Well, so we do a pay-as-you-go TIF, so that means that Mr. Schramm would still be responsible for paying everything, even including the increment, but it's just that it gets returned to specifically fund this part of the development. But as far as revenues go, it's very protective, because obviously as a city we want to make sure that we're covered with our tax revenue that we earn. So the whole point of TIF really is that we're saying that what this adds to the community as far as taxes go, down the line, it's more valuable than what it would be if it remained like undeveloped for those 15 years. But again, I would direct those...
It's a city council matter. I was just
the city
hoping
council
for
meeting, this is, the planning commission really doesn't
10,000
have
level.
much to do with the TIF.
Getting back to our comprehensive plan amendment, any additional questions or thoughts, concerns? No? Dan, do you have anything, sir? Gentlemen? If not, I would look for a motion, please.
I will make the motion to approve the comprehensive plan amendment.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go around and make sure Linda's got it correct, if you don't mind. John, what was your vote, sir?
Yes.
Yes?
Opposed?
Opposed? I'm in favor of, Linda.
Opposed.
And opposed.
Two opposed? Yes.
Yes.
Are we at a tie? I'm in favor of. So what do we have for votes?
It's 4-3.
In favor of?
Yes. John was a yes.
Okay.
John was a
Yes. Got 4 yeses and 3 nos.
4 yeses to 3 nos, thank you. That would be our recommendation to the city council.
I guess I'm not understanding, and I'm sorry for speaking out, but what are you actually voting on right now?
Number 3 on the agenda, ma'am, it's a comprehensive plan amendment.
What does that mean?
They approves the plan that's up on the screen.
Yeah. You know, basically, we've got a chunk of land that is not zoned. It's sitting in a holding district.
I still don't understand.
You approve this plan, is that what you're saying? Perhaps after the meeting, and again, I'm happy to stick around afterwards and do my absolute best to explain these things to you.
Did you approve this plan?
Yes, yes. Next item on the agenda is the planned unit development.
All these people didn't want it, but you people want it.
They don't live there, they don't care. Their kids are out of high school.
Oh my God, I can't believe this. You get on this board to support your locals, and these locals are here, don't want it, and yet you just say, to hell with you, we want it. That's what you told us. Wow, that's...
Ian, on the planned unit development, sir, do you want to have any comments?
Yeah, so now I'll go through the next piece of the approval process this evening, which is for the planned unit development. So the Planning Commission, what they just recommended approval for was for the comprehensive plan, which has more to do with the density that's being proposed. Now this planned unit development, or PUD as it's referred to, has to do more with the zoning specifically. I think there's a bit of confusion going on between the difference between the comprehensive plan amendment and the zoning aspect. So now we're talking about the zoning aspect specifically. And as Chair Tom Ferris just said, that this area is in a development holding district, which for everyone just means that the property was recently annexed into city limits. And whenever that happens, it gets put into holding district until it's ready to be developed specifically. So now that we have this development being proposed, now is the appropriate time to actually talk about the rezoning aspect. So this will be happening no matter what this proposal is. It's required for any development. Once it goes from development holding to any development, this is required. So, specific to this one, it becomes a bit more complicated with the PUD, but where we're starting is with the base districts. So, what that means is that there's going to be a proposal for 2 different districts going on. The first would be an expansion of the R1, or single-family residential district. So anyone who lives on 12th Street Northwest, you're part of that R1 district, which is for single-family homes. So by recommending approval for this PUD, it would be an expansion of that one for the R1. So basically it allows the single-family homes to go down here. The second of the based zoning districts would be for R3, or multifamily residential. That would be for anything with the townhomes. That's the second base zoning district. Now the PUD is an overlay district, so think of that as being additional conditions that apply to the based rules that apply to all zoning districts. So specific to this one, we use the PUDs to cover the private streets, which would be anything north of the proposed 13th Street. So there's this horseshoe road that goes around. That would be private, and then there's 1, 2, 3 internal private roads as well. So private roads meaning that whoever owns these properties is responsible for the maintenance of these roads, whereas if it's public, then the city is responsible for maintenance. So that's one piece of the PUD. Another aspect of it has to do with the width of the 4-unit townhomes specifically. And this is helpful with PUDs because it allows for alterations when the code requirements are very specific. So, for example, the 8-unit townhomes here, I have to look at my notes. The 8-unit townhomes, let's see. They require, a width of 70 feet at the street line. All of them exceed that 70 feet, width easily. But because the code for the 4-unit ones is based on the per unit calculation, it says that you need 30 feet of width per unit, so, sorry, it's 40 feet per unit, so that's, 160 feet in width. So, per the code, a 4-unit townhome needs to be on a wider lot than an 8-unit townhome. So with the PUD, it allows that to be a little bit more of an efficient use of land, I would say, just because of how the code is written. That's the second piece of the PUD here. Let's see. And then back to the private streets, not only is the maintenance a bit different, but it's also that they're narrower than what you would see elsewhere in the city. So standard street width is often 66 feet from end to end, and, let's see, a lot of these internal private roads are less than that. And with that, of course, you don't have, on-street parking necessarily, but if you look closely here at what's being proposed is the off-street parking, in between each of the townhome buildings. You can see there's, spaces available off-street there to supplement the parking on driveways or in the garages of the units themselves. All right, I think that's what I've got for the PUD. If there's any questions from the board off the bat.
Anything? If not, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for, pardon me, get in front of me, the planned unit development. If anybody has anything specific to say about the planned unit development, if they would be kind enough to come up to the podium.
Whether it is approved here or not, it still has to go to city council to discuss it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you are just
We
approving
approve-
moving it forward to council.
We approve nothing. We make a recommendation to the city council.
Yep, and council you can still go on Wednesday. We meet Wednesday. Please come and talk about it to us so we can hear you. We're hearing you now, but keep coming, right? This does not mean it's happening. You still come and talk.
They told us to go to hell.
Thank you.
We just told them what we thought, and they don't like it. They approved it anyway. And a lot of the code, apparently what he was saying, they're not even code, and yet they still approved it.
As far as how narrow the private roads are, I do think that can be a huge problem for firefighters to get their fire truck in there and then get an ambulance rig in there and then get a cop, a police vehicle in there and everything too. I understand the off-road parking, but not everyone follows that. And then, of course, with winter and snow and everything, I think that's a huge concern for emergency services. Thank you.
At least you don't have to worry about a front row view to this jackass thing.
Anything else?
Jerry Berg, 506 Fifth Avenue Northwest. I assume it'll be brought up by a fire representative here, but of course, with no off-street parking, everybody's gonna fill up or with no on-street parking, they're gonna fill up the off-street parking, so there'll be absolute no access to fighting a fire in the back or from the back side of the house. And one of the reasons we have restrictions on regular housing is you got minimum side lot lines, so you can get access to the back for emergency uses. There'll be absolutely none here by the looks of it.
Anything else? If not, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Next step in the process, gentlemen, your thoughts, questions?
Anybody else hear what that councilman said? We have to import roads, idiots.
No? If there are no thoughts or concerns, I would look for a motion, please.
I would make the motion to recommend approval of the PUD.
Got a recommendation to approve. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, but can you put your microphones closer to you so we can hear?
I apologize, ma'am. It's about 4 inches away from my face. I don't know if I can get it any
Talking
closer.
about the other council
Oh.
members.
Just talk into it, not your neighbors.
Gotcha.
Please.
Still looking for a second, please. We do not have a second? Afraid we cannot move forward without a second. Do we have a counter motion? Correct.
I'd make a motion to recommend denial.
Got a recommendation to deny.
I would second that.
We got a recommendation and a second to deny. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
That would be a nay as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 to 2, correct?
Should we roll call?
Pardon me?
Can we just roll call to make it clear?
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor of denial? Okay. Those opposed? Would be our recommendation on the planned unit development. Do we move forward with a preliminary plat without a planned unit development?
We can move forward, yeah.
Okay. Please proceed.
All right. I'll just bring up the exhibit here on the computer. All right, so this here is the preliminary plat. Let's see, what?
Okay.
Please.
I'm not sure you want to move forward with the preliminary plat if your PUD isn't approved. Developer may, developer may be interested in withdrawing, if the preliminary plat is rejected and it can't come back. There's issues to work out in the PUD, presumably.
I think on the preliminary plat, we could have a condition that the PUD gets approved, yeah.
Yeah, maybe like conditional approval of the PUD coming back?
I don't recall putting conditions on preliminary plats, but that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Need a little direction on this one, I'm sorry.
Let's see. Well, we can have the public hearing since it was called for.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in theory, table it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, back to the preliminary plat exhibit here.
Explain what you guys are payment here, like what was approved and what was not.
So, to summarize what's happened so far, the Planning Commission has recommended approval to the City Council for the comprehensive plan amendment that would change the guidance of the comprehensive plan for this property from low density to medium density. The second thing we discussed was for the planned unit development, which includes the rezoning, which we had a motion to deny, which there was a majority of, so now the Planning Commission has recommended denial of the planned unit development, and now we are talking about the preliminary plat specifically, which has to do more with the actual subdivision of land and the layout of the public right-of-ways and utilities and trails and all of that. But back to the preliminary plat here. So it was one parcel to begin with, and now they're proposing to subdivide the property into 13 single-family lots, the street infrastructure, and then 18 lots for the townhomes, and then 1 lot for the proposed community room. Let's see, I talked about the public and private street infrastructure already. Talk about the trails now. So, you can see that there is a trail proposed here for the east side, kind of connecting down into what is Veterans Memorial Park, and then ultimately would go all the way up to the future 16th Street Northwest. And then there's also a proposed connection going out to the dump road out here. So that's the trail network that's being proposed for this. And then someone had asked about the stormwater facilities earlier this evening. That's what this large piece up here is. That's the stormwater infrastructure going on here. Let's see, what else? Some grading items. I can scroll here. This was the proposed grading plan, so if you compare what it looks like here, and that was probably hard to tell on the screens. This one has the current contours, and this one has the proposed contours, so you can see kind of grading out the property to be more flat for each building, essentially, is what it is. And then this continues on to have more of the civil plans regarding the constructions of the streets themselves. Let's see if Brandon has any specific comments about the grading, street infrastructure, utilities, any of that. Can speak to that factor, or if there's any questions from the board.
Did you have any additional comments, Brandon?
No, excuse me. Our review letter, it was in the board's packet, so I'm happy to answer any questions there. Straightforward, we did meet with the developer and the developer's engineers. Didn't have any issues with our comments. Maybe some city council items that need to be addressed moving forward, but none specifically unless you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions before I open up the public hearing? If not, I'll open up the public hearing for the preliminary plat. If you have any comments you would like to make, if you'd be kind enough to come up to the podium, please.
Does that storm water drainage, does that connect at all to the creek behind the Stone Ridge Patio Association? Because they do tend to flood a lot back there. Would it increase their flooding? Is there a potential it could make them more wet back there or anything?
Yeah, good question. Generally on the sheet that Ian has pulled open there, it flows from the Stone Ridge Patio Homes, which is on the lower right there. You see that delineated wetland, that's kind of that hashed in area, which is in the lowland. That flows to the north, goes off the top of the sheet and continues northwesterly, and then continues underneath 8th Avenue. So long answer, short answer to the long-winded answer here is no, because that pond is downstream. This pond, per city requirements, there's certain, we call stormwater rate requirements, so pre-existing, whatever comes off in a 2-year event, a 10-year event, and a 100-year event. Post-construction, the discharge from the site, the amount of water coming off, has to be lowered than what happens during pre-development. So that's a requirement across town. That's why you see ponds and subdivisions that are currently being constructed, in addition to some state requirements. So I've never heard of the Stone Ridge Patio Homes flooding, so I'll be looking at that. To the east, there is also a drainage way to the east of them that I suspect is wetland too. But for future development, there will be, again, ponding, so we're not increasing any runoff to the Stone Ridge Homes area.
Yeah, so we can't guarantee that it wouldn't cause further, like, more water runoff?
It's going to be less water runoff because, again, we have that rate control, which reduces in the 2-year event, an event that statistically, probability happens every 2 years. The 10-year event happens once every 10 years statistically. In a 100-year event, one every 100 years statistically. So those rates will all be reduced based on an engineering standard. The developer and his engineer will be required to provide those calculations and meet those city requirements. That is written in our ordinance. That's any subdivision throughout the city. We're decreasing the amount of runoff going to our bodies of water, in this case a wetland.
Hi, I'm Beth Shield again, and I'm on the board of the townhouse, or the patio homes. We do have a terrible drainage problem. We brought in DeCook, and it was gonna cost us tens of thousands of dollars, because when that was developed, it was not graded properly, and now we have no recourse. So there's ponds down there, that pool down there, and because of that, we have snakes. We got a hold of the city, and they said it's not our problem, so there is drainage problems down there terribly.
Any other comments on the preliminary plat?
Jerry Berg, 506 Fifth Avenue Northwest. I presume these are, majority are the private streets. Are the facilities underground going to be built to what would be public street requirements? Question, or can you either answer it or not, I don't know.
No, Brandon, if you would.
Yeah, correct. In discussions with the developers, we're building the sewer, water, our public infrastructure that the city owns, operates, maintains per city standards, along with the streets being constructed as such. Not necessarily a requirement for the streets, it's not the city's problem, but I think it's good practice. We've kind of adopted that at the city staff level, so developers on private streets have been building them per city specifications, yes.
Okay, and what, this is being proposed as private area, I guess, when I would call it, community. What, if anything, is there a guarantee that it wouldn't become a public street community? I'm thinking of South Fork. We're still reeling from that. That was private, and we allowed them to come into our city as a city entity, and we're still reeling from fixing streets and sewers and water.
No, please.
That's not correct. All of South Fork is private sewer, private water, private streets, of which the city's actually required that developer. We had some I&I problems out there, raining groundwater gets into the sanitary sewer, and had the association correct those. So none of that is private out there, or excuse me, all of it is private out there, none of it's public.
Okay, so we had to build a public loop for the water, right?
Along County, was it 13 down there?
Yeah.
There is a city loop that's looped over to the far east side of it.
Correct.
But in the actual subdivision itself, that's all private.
Okay.
So the loop serves not only that, we're gonna build a new water tower, the new Egan site, so that, loop will serve all of South.
Okay, so even though they're in city property, they still stay private streets and everything?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
So that's all
Didn't understand that.
privately maintained, so there's no...
Okay, I assumed we took it over when they brought it in.
There's
Okay.
been discussion, and that is a fear that private streets become public,
Yep.
but that's...
Just looking ahead, I
Yep.
misinformed on that one.
Yeah, so that, you know, in theory, could
Something
be
to
a...
watch ahead for on these kind of deals.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, I guess I would make the motion that we table this until we get through our planned unit development discussion and see what direction this is going. But would entertain thoughts to the contrary.
Nope, table sounds good.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion if there is a second.
Yeah, I'll second the table.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We agreed on one thing this evening, thank you. That was the last item on the agenda. Is there anything else we need to talk about tonight? If not, I thank everyone for coming, and please have a Merry Christmas.